Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone's having a great day. Today we're working on the E36. So the other night we were drifting at Mission Raceway and I ended up popping the motor. I'm not quite sure what happened just yet, but it sounds like rod knock. I spun super hard on like my fourth lap and I must have just starved the motor. Ended up finishing the whole run, and as we were pulling into the pits I could hear something was up, so pretty much just drove it straight onto the trailer and dropped it off into the backyard. So today's plan is to kind of get it into the shop here, get it up on the jack stands, and just start tearing into this thing and see if we can yank the motor out. I've got a buddy who has a 5.3 actually for sale, so I'm hoping to pick that up maybe this weekend, and hopefully we can have this thing running again for Sunday. So yeah, pretty disappointing really, but that's part of drifting. And honestly, after I had money shifted this a few weeks ago, I went 2.3 back to 2, and I think I got it up to like, must have been 10,000 RPM. So I knew it was hurt. You can kind of see there is a little bit of sheen to the pickup or to the oil dipstick here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say that we spun a bearing, and yeah, I'll probably just junk this. Honestly, I don't really want to rebuild something like this. It's not even worth it on these. It's another $400 or $500 to get a new long block, so it's cheaper just to keep swapping motors. Well, that's what we're gonna do today. We also got our new banners that put on. We also got the new banners, check that out. Never lift, pretend race car team life, hell yeah. So I'm gonna fire this thing up real quick and see if I can drive it in one shot. Let me set you guys down and see if I can make this corner. It is really tight getting in here, so we'll see. I'm sure you could kind of hear the noises going on there from that video of me pulling in, but it doesn't sound good, I'll be honest. Definitely sounds sort of like the top end, but the fact that there's metal shavings on the dipstick, it just kind of says it all, and says it's going to be bearing related. Ooh. All right, just made a little bit more space. I got to shift the car over a little bit. I like having more working room on this side rather than on this side here. It's just a bunch of storage and stuff. So I'm gonna take one more crack at this, see if I can get the car in a little better position, see how this goes. All right. Oh, you know what I just thought of? I should have drained the water while this was still outside. I probably do this every time. Okay, so I'm gonna get this thing jacked up, get the fluids out of it, and start ripping the front end off. I guess I'm probably gonna try to pull it all with the turbo kit and everything. So what I'll do, I'll probably lose the wastegate. I'll get the mid pipe, down pipe out of it, get the rad off, get my little swirl pot thing, get this out of the way, drain the power steering fluid, disconnect all that. Yeah, pull the headlights, the bumper. I've got my bash bar. You guys will be able to take a little bit better of a look at what's going on there once I've got the car pulled apart. So yeah, first things first, get this thing in the air. Red tape for them sliding that day. Bunch of hollows spinning out the block. I've been serving fiends all day. Out there posted with the gang, nigga. We was taught to get it off the block. It's 100 bands in the safe. Ever since I stepped up, put all my trust into the compact. My niggas want to walk, but they ain't get no Vietnam check. Never on his head, he trying to make his brain spinning out. All right, so first up on the list, gonna drain the oil and just actually make sure that there's a bunch of bearing material in there. I'd hate to just like pull the motor out and it just be some top end related issue. So gonna drop the oil here and see what's going on. I'm honestly kind of just already committed to swapping the motor here, so I don't really care either way if it's not good or if it is good. So let's see what happens. It actually looks okay. Hard to say. I have to let it drain out and I'll get it in the light and be able to slosh it around and go panning for some gold. All right, well, that's about the only proof that I need that the motor's done, skis. So you can see all that sheen in there. So I'm not sure if possibly I pushed one of the head gaskets and it allowed a bit of water to get into the oil. Maybe that was the cause of the bearings getting spun. Or maybe it was just spinning out super hard, whatever. Plus, like I said earlier, having money shifted it, I guess that was probably about 2 months ago. So I think I was going 100 miles an hour and dropped it into second. And if you calculate that, it's like 9,500 plus RPM. Now I know these motors are non-interference, so they can take stuff like that, but it still fatigues the rod bolts. So it was done anyway. At least it happened drifting, not just doing a pull on the street. So that's a bonus. So yeah, I'm gonna start diving into this a little bit more and start ripping everything off and really gonna go for the full engine removal. I'm gonna pull it with the transmission just to keep things simple because it's a pretty tight fit with the CDO9 in here. So let's get started. And yeah, if you're wondering, the entire front end of this car is held together with number 10 3/4 self tappers. Trade life. All right, now I got the grill, the bumper, and the headlights pulled off. You can kind of get a better look at the bash bar that I built. Basically just tied it in there. Here got a little triangle, and then I threw these uprights in just to give it a bit of support. And you actually can jack the car up off the front there. It's definitely strong enough. And then I've just got it bolted into the factory location from the factory bash bar. Pretty simple. Just did it this way when I originally built it, just to get the clearance for the rad, because the original rad sits about here, and well, it's not enough room once you throw a turbo in front of the motor. So I ended up pushing the rad forward about 6 to 7 inches, and that ended up giving me all the space I needed. So it works. Pretty simple. Just welded up a couple stands just like this with some aluminum, and again, self-tapped her right into the frame of this bash bar. Full sand or no sand, right? I 100% appreciate how easy it is to pull off those LS1 intake manifolds. Literally, what, 12 bolts? The thing just comes right off. Now compare that to the RB26 intake manifold. It's a whole another world. All right, it's now next week. As you can see, I've been pretty busy. I actually got the whole car fully torn apart. Got the motor, transmission all out, got the turbo kit. This actually came off pretty nicely. I just pulled the one header off and then just pulled the whole thing out pretty much just as one with the wastegate, turbo, everything. Got that, got the water pump over here. And then the old 4.8 sitting there as a pile of rubble. I'm not quite sure what I want to do with this yet. I know the heads are probably good. The bottom end is definitely trashed, but maybe it's good just to keep it just as a spare, just in case if I were to ever rebuild something. But then again, now I've got this, so might just trash the other motor and get 20 bucks for it as some scrap metal. So I picked this up off a buddy for like 500 bucks. So not too bad. Gave me a bit of a friend deal. And this is a 5.3 liter. I believe it only has 150K is what he said. So that's a hell of a lot better than the 4.8, which had 366,000 kilometers, believe it or not. And yeah, so I'm hoping that this lasts a bit longer than, you know, the 6-7 months I had with this one of hard driving. So if I got a year or 2 years out of this, I'd be pretty happy. And then eventually go 6 liter or something like that down the road. So today I'm just working on swapping over all the parts onto the 5.3. I'm gonna swap out the valve covers. I gotta swap the oil pan, and I think I might pull the crank damper off this one and swap it onto here just because this has a little chip in it. Or I might just send it, we'll see. And other than that, gave me a chance to kind of inspect my clutch and flywheel. And it looks pretty good. Yeah, so as you can see, it still looks pretty brand new. Got lots of life left on the 6 puck here. So I'll be slapping that all back together. Well, I'd say there's a little bit of shavings in there. Whew. Even a little milky up in this front corner. Not looking so good. But to be expected. So All right. So it's been a pretty hectic couple days here, but found some time tonight again to work on this thing. So basically, this is where we left off the other day. Had to do some real work stuff, so now we're back at it here in the shop. Basically, I ended up cleaning the oil pan, got that all bolted up, got my engine mounts on, got the transmission and the clutch all put back on. The clutch actually looks pretty good still. I mean, the car probably only has maybe 5,000 kilometers in total since I built it, so it's still pretty new looking. And today's plan pretty much is to get the turbo kit all bolted back up. I'll get the power steering and the alternator put back on here, and I'm going to try to just get it back into the engine bay, and we'll see how far I get in terms of putting the rest of the car back together tonight. I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough time to get it all done, but let's get started and we'll see where we end up. Well, there she is. I'd be lying if I said it was easy. Had to put the camera down because I was struggling, not gonna lie. It's definitely nice when you got two people, just to have one person under the car guiding the transmission in, and then the other person kind of lining up the motor mounts and slipping it over the subframe. But here we go, got her in, pretty fired up. All that's left to do is everything else. So I think that's enough for today. I'm pretty exhausted, so I'm gonna come back out here tomorrow and see how far we get again.